what's up? Welcome to Gen XYZen. My name is Ricky.
And I'm COVID negative Beth.
And welcome to the show. So, Gen XYZen, we're a couple of friends from college. You could call it a bit of a chat cast where we discuss BIPOC issues and stories in media, pop culture, the internet, and more. So, before we get started, you watching right now, this is probably your third time watching a video. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment. It's the least you can do while you're here.
Oh my goodness. Yes, and follow us on social media at Gen XYZen.
Perfect. So let's get straight into it. How's your week been, Beth?
Oh my goodness. As discussed. For Thanksgiving, I'm doing a Friendsgiving, and it's like just a few of us, but because we all live in different households and we're all single ladies, like we all had to get COVID tests. So I'm going to share my screen here and I will show you what my line was like. Okay, wait, I'm just going to share my entire screen. Sharing entire screen. And then I will show you this first. Oh, wait a second. There we go. So this is the line. Can you? Yep, I'm ready. So this is the line. Here's the end of the line. Here I am in the middle. And then here's where the clinic was, all the way over there. Oh look at that thing. Yeah, so that was like a 5-hour wait, in the rain. I brought a stool and comfortable shoes.
Do you have a photo of the stool?
I not on my computer, but yes, I did bring my IKEA chair just because I had scoped it out the day before. And I'm going to show you one other thing. If you could jump off my screen share for a second, I will share you the other thing, which is, okay, so I had scoped the situation out and I'm ready whenever you are. Okay, wait. And then this was the other line that I was seeing. Look at this. We are at the clinic and we're still walking. And walking. And walking.
How do you do it? How do you New Yorkers do it?
I'm just gonna let it play. But that's the point. I was trying to be responsible for Thanksgiving. So because we're gonna be a spine space inside, but we're all actually still wearing masks. We're eating our food and then taking it upstairs. But still, there was this rush to get a COVID test right before Thanksgiving.
But when you got to the clinic, was it pretty much a smooth process?
It was relatively smooth, but I got the rapid test. So you have a stick going up your nose. So I was not prepared for when I took off my mask when I got home, there was blood in it. I had not realized. And then I also got an antibody test, so I had to give some blood. So that part was kind of relatively smooth, but anyway.
That's crazy. I've been fortunate that with my new part-time gig, I get COVID tested every week now, but it's just the spit and the vial thing, and I just put it in the UPS and I get the
that's super.
day.
Oh, that's so nice. You get it the next day because that's part of the reason I couldn't do that test because I had to go to a doctor and it wasn't going to be necessarily in time for Thanksgiving. Oh, by the way, we're still not just walking past this other line. This is my other option.
Oh, wait.
It is still going. Look at this.
Oh, that's the one. I thought it was on a loop.
Oh, no. This is the same line. It's 2 minutes.
Also, everyone is keeping distance as well in line.
Right, yeah.
So that makes it even longer.
Yeah. So
That's crazy. So 5 hours in total. Did you make any friends? Well, I guess you can't really talk to anybody because you're social.
You can't really talk to anybody. So these are weird times. So you're trying to keep a distance and because you're are you COVID? My mom made a joke that oh, you're gonna get COVID getting tested for COVID. And that did come to mind. You can stop sharing my screen now.
You know what? At least everyone is being socially responsible. We like to see people getting tested, wearing their masks, and helping to, flatten the curve. We got to flatten that curve.
That's right. I mean, flattening the curve. But yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's pretty amazing because I'm guessing there'll also be a rush kind of around December. So this was in New York, but I mean, we've seen these kind of lines kind of across the country, like people
Yeah.
just getting tested. So I mean, like, and that's just the first hurdle to like seeing if you have COVID and like dealing with that. So like,
Yeah. Well, good job.
anyway,
Way to be responsible.
yeah. So anyway, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. I was traveling. Speaking of COVID, I was on the road for my job, and it's interesting how many Trump flags are still waving proudly, and not in Michigan. All throughout Michigan,
Yeah.
it's not just flags. There are Trump. I wish I could have taken photos, but I was being a responsible driver. But there are proper Trump, like artistic sort of site-specific installations still up. Like
Like what?
most people have their Christmas stuff starting, like nativity scenes and things. But there are some places in Michigan that still have like their ode to Trump, like
Yeah.
nativity scenes. Like they're not proper nativity scenes, but you've got like a flag with like a painted old bus I saw.
Yeah.
You've got like I don't know, like little wooden people with like Trump written on it, with like holding, like it's just like all these weird sort of like homages to Trumpism. So that's been interesting to see. I definitely try to get in and out as quick as possible when it comes to those areas, because that's like rural Michigan, like, yeah.
I keep on picturing, remember those big famous balloons of like the Trump baby that they had floating over cities?
Yes.
Like I'm picturing that, like, instead of Jesus, there's like a little baby like Trump, like in the nativity. Like, I mean, have you seen any kind of like Christmas Trump crossover kind of?
I haven't particularly, but I like exploring this. So we have Trump as baby Jesus, and so then who's going to be Joseph? Do we have like Rudy Giuliani as like?
I
Joseph,
don't know.
like,
there's
awkwardly Ivanka would be Mary, just because he would do that because he's got that weird infatuation with his dog.
I mean, I guess it's kind of a reverse. I mean, like if there's some like somebody who's the angel. Like I'm not sure who. Like the shepherds, maybe.
The three wise men.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, there's
the three wise men could be his three Supreme Court. It could be Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and who was his first one? I don't know the name, but those three justices he got to appoint would be the three wise men and women.
I guess. I mean, like, oh my goodness. Now I want to conceptualize this. Like, oh my goodness. I kind of want to conceptualize this in Photoshop now. Like,
let's do it. Trump nativity on the next episode of Gen XYZen.
Comment below if you would like to see that.
Yeah, if you would like to see the Trump nativity scene, let us know in the comments. All right, cool. Let's move into our first official segment. Have you heard? All right, so have you heard, where we discuss things we see in the news, media, and in the internet, and, we want to know, have you heard? So, Beth,
Yes.
What's your first have you heard?
Oh my goodness. Oh, so have you heard that like December 15th is a deadline to choose your insurance? That is,
Yes,
unless
I
you're
have heard.
Yes, unless you have an employer insurance or you're in a few government programs like Medicare or like the VA. So like, what are you doing for your insurance, like Ricky?
Well, so I'm technically still on Cobra, but yeah, I actually looked into the market to see, because it's my first time having to look for insurance. And it's so interesting because it really reinforces what people who are pro, healthcare for all. It's like a majority of us, our insurance is attached to our employer. And that's always been my case. But now at 40 years old is the first time where that actually has meant something. And so I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should look into the market. But I'm covered until May of next year, I believe. So
that's cool.
Which is one good thing to know. If you have a qualifying event after open enrollment is complete, I don't know how much we should break it down. So open enrollment is the period now where you can enter the market and get healthcare for 2021. However, if you have a qualifying event during 2021 and you missed the window to get insurance in the current window, if you have a qualifying event like a loss of employment or any kind of other thing, you can then enter the market at that point. So losing your Cobra is a qualifying event, so I don't have to actually choose now. I can wait until the middle of next year if I need to
which is
get a plan.
Which is awesome because, I mean, we'll get into it later, but there's a lot of things that are happening after December 15th that will kind of affect how you want to be able to choose your insurance. And let's talk about it. Like, your insurance has changed because Cirque, right?
Yes, Cirque went under. Girl gone.
Yeah.
but girl back. She rises again. Actually, just today or yesterday, it's official that Cirque has a new owner, and all the lines have been signed, all the papers have been pushed, all the deals have been made, and so Cirque has a new owner, and we'll stay tuned to see what that means as far as the future of the company.
Right. But I mean, like, in the meantime, like, I mean, you, like a lot of other people, are like trying to figure it out. And like, as of August, which is, months ago, 12 million Americans lost their insurance because of COVID. So, I mean, there are millions of people who've never had to choose insurance before that have to during a pandemic, which is not the time, which is like specifically not the time not to have insurance. It's a big freaking deal.
Yeah, especially, because anything can happen. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, like, in 2019, like, 8% of people, or people in the United States, or 26.1 million, did not have health insurance at any point during the year. Oh, so, like, there's millions of Americans. And that was before that $12 million kind of loss. Oh, wait, I can share my screen so you know what I'm talking about. So 1 second, I will share my screen. Let me make sure I get the right window. Yeah. Oh, wait, am I still sharing?
Yeah,
okay,
I just have to
share screen.
Now you're not sharing.
Application. Okay, wait, am I showing the right window? Do you see health insurance coverage in the United States? Yes. So, okay, wait. In 2019, this is from the Census Bureau, 8% of people, or 26.1 million, did not have health insurance at any point during the year. So, like, it's crazy because, like, now, like, whatever, it's a thing. But then also, like, you've got to remember that we are increasingly in a freelance economy where more and more people. So, like, this is a study that was done by Upwork and freelancers, and it says, wait, let me see, this study found that 36% of U.S. workforce is freelance amid the COVID-19. So people who are freelance, they can't apply. Like, they are working, but they have to buy their own private insurance. And they also, like, it's also, I mean, this has been a trend well before COVID where people lost it. I mean, it is suspected by 2027, the majority of the workforce will be freelance. So we can't rely on, like, insurance from employers anymore.
Yeah, because like freelance, I mean, it's not consistent work. So that's the thing. You can end up purchasing a plan, but then maybe the work doesn't come as often. So then the question is, can you even afford it? I mean, insurance is expensive. I know. So the plan I had with Cirque was quite nice, and so
you can hide my screen for now.
Okay, I could probably find a plan that. Whoops. I could probably find a plan that's cheaper, but right now it's over $300 per month.
Oh, mine is
for insurance.
Oh yeah. Oh no, like my insurance right now. I mean, I was kind of I've been like kind of on freelance insurance now for a while. But like my current plan, let's talk about it. It is $542.53 a month. That's for basic, like, in case like I get in an accident insurance.
Like bare bones insurance.
Basic. Bare bones, like no eye care, no dental, like thousands of dollars deductibles. Like that's kind of the best I could do.
That's crazy.
I mean, I know people going on like Medicaid just because that was just kind of the best option, even though they could pay. But I mean, like, I'm one person. Like, I don't know how I'm paying $500, like almost $550. And next year it's increasing to almost $600 for the same plan. It's a 10% increase.
And you're
So
in New York, so that's like an expensive city on top
that's
of it.
another that's another $683 more per year. So that's just my experience. But like,
But I think it's the case for a lot of, millennials and, Gen X, Gen Y.
yeah,
That was part of the blueprint, part of the framework. You went to college or not, but you got your job and you had your insurance provided by your job, and that's just how it worked. And you never thought about it outside of that framework, or at least let me speak for me, because actually
yeah,
what you're talking about, it probably has been a lot of people's realities for a long time. But just to talk about, I guess, our specific bubble, like college educated, got a job, like you kind of lived in this sort of safety net of, well, I always have insurance because I'm always going to have a job, of course, and you never thought past it. And now is the first time you really have to reconcile, or at least I have had to reconcile, what is my healthcare plan, especially getting into, I'm 40 years old. So like, you start to need to get certain things checked, and even just access to, mental health care. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic, we've been shut down. And so honestly, that was my biggest thing. It was like, oh, I need access to be able to talk to somebody. So I need to continue this insurance because, therapy alone can be really expensive. So I was like, well, I might as well. Like when I was first considering the Cobra, I was like, maybe I could just pay for therapy out of pocket because fingers crossed, maybe I won't get sick. But it's like, no, you might as well just pay for your coverage, and then have all those additional benefits. But yeah, times have changed, and it really is, it makes you look at the whole debate around universal health care. It makes you look at it a little bit closer and have a little bit better perspective on why maybe we should be for it.
I think there's different questions about like what the solution is, but I mean, like, I just kind of know personally is that like trying to find affordable healthcare, even as like a healthy individual, like, and somebody who can pay for it, at least hypothetically, that like, like, it's really hard to find something that is affordable and actually covers stuff. And like, what kind of like brought this home? It's because when you're young and healthy, you're like, screw it, like, I'll live forever. There's nothing gonna happen. And then like, fun fact, I was in a train crash, a literal train crash, a few years ago, the Amtrak train crash, that happened like outside Philadelphia. I mean, I don't know. It's all news to me. So
Wait, pause. We need to give that a couple of beats. 2, 3, 4. So if you don't remember, there was a huge train crash on Amtrak headed towards Philly or at DC or New York?
It was from DC to New York, and I jumped on out of Philly, and it was right outside of Philadelphia, and it was 2016, I believe.
Yeah, so Beth was there. Beth went into action and was like the first reporter to like give live updates, and she did the whole circuit. Didn't she do the whole like news circuit?
Oh my goodness. Well, okay. So, a little off topic, but I feel like you're right. We have to ride with it a little bit.
Well, because you brought it up. Yeah. Come on now.
I mean, it was kind of the point that like unexpected events make you understand why you need insurance.
Yes.
But like
now let's talk about unplanned events.
Yeah, so the unplanned event. So I was working for a company that was in Philadelphia, and I was on my way home to New York, and then like we hit this turn, and suddenly like I looked out the window and I could see like the train like falling over. I'm like, no, it's fine. And then I'm like, oh, it's happening. And then it's just scary. I mean, like you're just like kind of like falling in the dark, you're like, oh shit, like this could be it. And like, I'm just being kind of pummeled like a rag doll as like the train car. So it ends up that my train car like fell over and then like slid across the tracks. So, I mean, I kind of came to like kind of like covered in dirt, but I was like, I can hear, like I'm alive, thank goodness. But I mean, but you're like, I just didn't know quite what had happened. And I had like, I couldn't find my bag. Should I just stay in this car or should I get out? And then then I was like, I'll just stay, like wait for people to come help. And then it ends up that like the car started to fill up with smoke and I'm like, okay, time to get out. So that meant like crawling up the side of the car to like get up to the roof. But like luckily kind of in that melee, I found my phone. So then like, I mean, my first call was my mom and I'm like, hey, no big deal. I was in a train crash. I'm fine. And then I called my newsroom and was kind of reporting from the scene. I mean, this is also because like I want to get back to New York and like, how do I do that? And I figured news crews were going to go back to New York and I needed a ride and I had no wallet. So, and like later on, I found out that people had actually died in my car. So like, I was lucky.
It's crazy.
So like,
and didn't you get a phone call right before you changed cars or something?
I mean, like, it ends up that my car is actually where some people had died because the windows had fell out and had slid. But I mean, there's some other ones that like, they look like at the time they had been crushed. I mean, it's really hard to know when you're in that kind of event. Like, you know, there's so much chaos going on.
Yeah.
And like, and it was just so like, even though I haven't necessarily, I've been like more in the background of newsrooms, like my journalist skills kind of kicked in because it was a lot easier to be like reporting an event than to be a victim.
Yeah.
So anyway,
for sure. It's like taking control of the situation. And I'll just add one thing just to lighten it a little bit. One other thing that came out of that was that you were accused of being a crisis actor.
I was, yes, because like I did like kind of a news circuit because remember, I have no wallet. I don't know how to get home. So like, you know, so I'm trying to catch a ride with some news crew back to New York. So anyway, so I ended up, and I had been like one of the first people to like, you know, tweet about it. So like I was getting a lot of calls. So I did like a little like media circuit, like it was like a morning shows and stuff, like famous for a day. But yeah, like somebody like wrote an entire conspiracy theory about like I had to be a crisis actor. Oh yeah, but he was obsessed with like everybody. Like he had written.
I kind of went. Well, we'll get to rabbit hole. Yeah. That was one of those days where I was like, I had heard of crisis actors and that whole conspiracy theory. If you don't know, there are a lot of people who think that they're crisis actors. So where there's natural disasters or like terrorist events, they try to place the same people in multiple events, and they call them crisis actors because these people are conspiracy theorists and they believe that the government has some participation in these events, and that they use these trained crisis actors to sort of like tell the story of what happened that the government wants told. And so I had seen those before Beth's accident, but then for her to come up as one, I was just like, that's crazy.
Yeah, because I was just trying to find like one of my clips to show somebody, and then like I found this whole thing and I was like, what? I mean, like he went everything, like he looked at my Facebook and she's like, she doesn't post anything. She must be fake. Like he looked at the way my fingernails were painted. He like added up the numbers in my name. Like it was like he said, like I must have a birthmark under my, it wasn't a black eye. Like, I mean, there was like weird specific details.
There was a time where I thought you might be in the CIA though, because you would just go like, you would go dark and then like you would pop up like 3-6 months later and I'd be like, where have you been? Like, were you on some like international secret mission that I don't know about?
I mean, who knows? Yeah, I can or cannot.
So all that sidebar to say, things happen. Shit happens. You need healthcare. You need insurance.
Because you never know.
Your train could flip over. You just never know. Or you can get COVID during a pandemic and officially have pre-existing conditions that could really screw you over.
Yeah. So where were we? Yes. So, okay, wait, my point is actually a lot of millennials are already freelancing, and like they were like the majority of like millennials were freelancing in like 2017. So there's even more. And Gen Z, I mean, similarly, they landed in really bad economies. So like freelancing was just what you can do. Like just, I mean, like the whole like full-time work, it was kind of this like thing from like the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s. But I mean, like it kind of around like 2000, it started to change. Like you get the rise of internet companies, like you think about like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb. I mean, like all of these, they all have like their workforces are freelance. TaskRabbit, like all of them. So, I mean, it's just, and like, and companies, like I work for a lot of tech companies, I often hire you as a contractor so they don't have to pay your benefits. So like so I mean, it's kind of like an ongoing thing where like the majority of like this kind of the working workforce right now is becoming increasingly freelance. And the people who had like, and by the time we get to its retirement, there isn't going to be Like by the time Gen X, so those in the 60s and born in the 60s and 70s, like there probably won't be any Medicare yet. So like there's no health care when you get there. There's probably going to be no Social Security. So like you're kind of stuck with like, you don't have employees insurance, so you have to pay it on your own. And plus the problem is with employers insurance, you have this bigger pool, but if you're paying by yourself, as you get older, you pay more and more and more because you're older.
Yeah.
Unless you have
risk
like,
factors.
yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
So that's
yeah,
unfortunately a bit heavy subject, but necessary to know.
Yeah.
Do you have any resources? So obviously healthcare.gov if you have questions or you want to know about the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, and your options there. Any other resources that you might have those?
Yeah, I mean, you can look up ACA. I personally go through the Freelancers Union because part of the problem too now with insurance is that we don't really know what the future of the ACA is, which is a huge problem when you have to make a decision in 2 weeks and it's still undetermined what will happen.
Yeah,
because
and that's why it's important for us to talk about it, because the current administration hasn't even promoted the fact that the marketplace is open. It's been everyone else. There's been no official notification from like the actual government. One side note, I should warn people. So I was on the site and I thought I was still on the .gov site, but I think at one point it must have switched me to a private company because there was something that said, do you click here for more information? And I think that took me to like a third party site. So then it was like, enter your information if you want more information about. So I just put my stuff in automatically. Big mistake. Cause I proceeded to get like hundreds of, up to this point, hundreds of phone calls of individual people who are like health insurance sellers kind of thing. Yeah. And they all are, so I don't know how to explain this. Basically, they're all independent contractors. So they all got my number from this website. So they all are contacting me to help me choose my insurance. But it's literally a phone call every half an hour and text messages and emails. Oh, so just be careful. I've had to put like a spam blocker app on my phone. It's a little bit annoying. So just be careful with that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the problem is like, where else are you going to kind of, like, where do you go to find insurance if you have to pay for it by yourself and you don't have an employer? Like, I mean, because let's also remember that, like, it's not just people who are freelancing. It's small businesses. Like, I know multiple small businesses rely on, like, an open market for their insurance because they don't have a big enough workforce to pay for the benefits. Like, it's really only big corporations. So, I mean, like, this is a big crunch for a whole slew of working Americans. And... yeah, and I was going to say, like, ACA, like, when it was enacted, there was, like, 20 million, like, the uninsured non-elderly Americans declined by 20 million to a historic low. But it's future in question. So we've got, what's affecting the ACA right now is, one, we have the Georgia runoff January 5th, which will determine the balance of the Senate, if it's Republican or Democrat, which obviously Republicans are against the ACA, Democrats for it. We've got the inauguration, which, I mean, they still haven't handed over the keys, so Biden can't necessarily he kind of had an idea where he wants to take healthcare, but there's not much he can do officially quite yet until the keys are turned over. And there's a case in the Supreme Court that is deliberating on the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act that won't be decided till probably this spring, and called California versus Texas. So, I mean, like, regardless, let's get over this, like, partisan divide.
Yeah. For sure. That actually leads into my Have You Heard?
Yeah, let's go for your Have You Heard.
So, have you heard that Stacey Abrams is a, like, romantic novel writer?
I did not know that.
She has this, is it pseudonym? Is that the right word? she's got a different name as a writer. Yeah, pseudonym. It's Selena Montgomery. And let me show you a couple of her.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for this.
We've got Deception.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
We've got Reckless by Selena Montgomery, aka Stacey Abrams. And we've got Secrets and Lies. Like,
oh my goodness.
I'm so impressed. And this could almost be a rabbit hole because I definitely did the dive. Everyone knows who Stacey. We talked about her in the last episode. She ran for governor 2 years ago in Georgia. she lost by a close margin, and by many accounts, an election that was sort of hampered by potentially meddling by her opponent, Kemp, who was actually the Secretary of State during the election, and it's the Secretary of State who's responsible for running the election. So a bit of a conflict of interest, although historically that has happened in the past where, especially for running for election again, where the Secretary of State kind of is running the election that they're also a part of. But there was some issues with potential disenfranchisement. They decided to throw out a lot of the elector logs like a year before the actual election. So there were some questionable dealings there, but in the end, Stacey Abrams did concede. However, she basically devoted her career to fighting for voter rights. So one of her, let's get back to the, let's get back to the romance novels. So I found a guy on YouTube, who's been reading her books. Like, he's been doing his own Audible basically, but on YouTube. Unfortunately, the audio, every sort of 10 seconds, there's this loud, annoying like glitch. So I'm only going to play a short clip from it, but here's a little bit of a taste of what Selena Montgomery gets into.
By God, Maury, you owe me. In the next instant, his mouth closed over hers. Even as he tasted, the countless reasons why he should stop swirled in his hazed thoughts. But no.
So it's deep. It's deep, you know. So I think I actually want to read one. They're only like $5 on Amazon, so you can go support the girl, give her her little side hustle. But it's published by, I think, Random House. Like, she's got a legitimate publisher for them, so it's very, very interesting.
So wait, so she's like a politician writing kind of like semi-erotica? Is that correct?
Yes, and apparently it's common. There are a lot of lawyers who dabble in like romantic novels, you know? So I didn't have time to like find a common chain, but apparently there's a lot of lawyers who dabble in that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm testing out new earbuds, and they keep popping out of my ears. So this will be a fun test. Like, take a drink every time an earbud pops out. Continue.
I've noticed. But so basically, long story short, we love Stacey Abrams, especially the fact that she's writing romantic novels, and also the fact that she has no shame. She has no. She will go anywhere to get the votes, and that includes going on. Do you know what Versus is?
No, what is that?
So all throughout the pandemic, there's been this series of, it's called Versus. So there was Brandy versus Monica. That was one of the big ones, where they basically go on IG Live and they each play a song from their catalog. And it's like, oh, so you got that. Well, here's this song from, 2000. And then basically it's like an ongoing playlist, and they just take turns playing songs. And in the end, like, the audience sort of debates who won, like who has the best catalog kind of thing. So most recently, there was a versus with Gucci Mane and who else? I don't even know these rappers. I mean, I know their names, I've heard of them, but I'm not well enough to remember who they actually were. Basically, it was a very much rapper trap centered Jeezy. This guy Jeezy. And our queen Stacey Abrams was like, well, the versus happened in Atlanta, and she's in Atlanta. So she was like, where are young urban voters more likely to be? Probably on this live. So she made an appearance. It's slightly awkward, but I'm going to play it. Let me share my screen. It's so funny.
Oh my
she's
goodness.
Just like, you can tell she's just like, and I'll wait for the best part to point it out when I play it. Screen 2. And let's play.
Oh my goodness, I'm so nervous.
There she is. It's a little small.
I can't see her. I want it bigger.
It's because it's a screenshot.
Oh wait, because I can't hear her because we don't have the sound turned on the share.
Right. Hold on.
1 second. Technical difficulties.
Pause.
Oh wait, that's my phone. Why is my phone in the shot? Moving it.
Okay, let's try this again.
Okay.
Oh, but how do I... Oh, okay. Oh, the only way you can do this is if... Okay, I get it.
You have to check the little audio button. Okay, wait.
And you wipe my record clean.
There we go.
Because with my niece Stacey Abrams.
How you doing, Stacey? What's going on, Stacey? How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys for letting me crash before what I know is the battle to end all battles, the verses to end all verses. So thank you for giving me some street cred with my nieces and nephews.
That's right. You wipe my record clean.
And he asked if she could wipe his record clean.
That's a job that the governor could do, but we'll have to think about that later. But for right now,
She's like, I didn't win the election. I ain't got no power like
we
that.
have 2 senators to make sure we have COVID response, and we've got stimulus money coming back to Georgia.
All right. That's right. We got you, baby. Let's get it. GA.
We got you, baby.
You got.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to both of you, especially for the work.
It is awkward. It is so
It's a
awkward.
little bit cringe. We appreciate the hustle, though. Queen Stacey Abrams. Showing up on
I
the
appreciate that, but yes, that was cringe.
I'm
I am
sure the
trying.
highlight was like, "Hey, can you clear my record?"
I am trying to get street cred with my niece and nephews. I am of the street.
Well, I love it 'cause she's not trying to be more than what she is. She's just like, "Listen, I'm here. Let's just roll with it."
Oh my goodness, I felt so uncomfortable.
Oh my
She's
gosh,
trying.
you're like... Yeah, she's trying. She's trying.
She's trying.
Let me also share. So just let's help her out here. So I'm gonna share her. No, not there. Remove. I'm gonna share. So basically, if you want more information about her efforts in the election, so basically she spearheaded the voter turnout in Georgia for the presidential election, but now she's on a mission for the run for Senate. So we kind of talked about it last week, but I think I kind of like overshadowed it with my little thirst trap moment for John Ossoff. But
There was which we decided was not a full ass snack, but a nibble,
he's
a
quasi-
mousse-bouche.
Yeah, he's like a quasi snack. So here's fairfight.com. You can go there to get more information. But most importantly, you can go there to donate to the cause, because basically if we win both seats, then we'll have a Democratic advantage, 51-50 in the Senate. So obviously for our Georgia fans out there, I don't know if how many are there out there, but definitely vote. And then if you're not living in Georgia, one way you can support is by donating to the cause. If you need to see...
And the runoff is on January 5th. And also, no shade if you happen to be Republican. It is an important fight, so get out and vote too. Voting is a democratic right.
Go for it. Here are the two candidates, the Democratic candidates, just so you get eyes on them. They're each going against some pretty problematic Republican candidates. One being Kelly Loeffler, who literally committed, what's it called? Insider trading. So she got intel on COVID before COVID broke publicly, and she basically sold stocks and bought into stocks relating to distance learning and education. Because having that intel ahead of time, you would know where the market would swing. So, that's one. Oh, whoops, I just lost my screen share. That's one candidate. And the other one is that guy Kemp, who I already kind of talked about. He had some questionable decisions during the gubernatorial election. And all that to say, do your best to support where you can.
Yeah.
And that's my one. Have you heard? Do you have something else to add to that, Beth?
I'm just going to say too, the reason that this is so important is because once again, this swings the majority. Either if both seats happen to turn Democratic, it turns it Democratic. If one of them turns Republican, the majority is Republican. So that's why the entire nation is watching Georgia right now, and up until January 5th. So,
and the biggest thing
it's a big election.
We want to get a Democratic majority to get Mitch McConnell out of being the Senate Majority Leader, because, and which I think is a problem with the system, which is probably, we can save it for another discussion, but it's amazing how much one person can have so much power, who's not the president, in determining like what gets brought up for discussion even, and for a vote. It's completely one-sided, and it's just...
Well, that's because that's majority leader. Like, that's why the fight is so important, is who's majority leader, because majority leader usually has that kind of power. So, I mean, like, that's always been the way, Democrat or Republican. I mean, every one of them has a different flavor, but I mean, that's why it's so important. Like, it is this major swing in how the legislation works.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're sitting there wondering, why hasn't there been a COVID relief package since we got the first stimulus check? The House, which is democratically controlled, they passed was it HEROES Act or CARES Act?
I mean, there's been
HEROES
so
or
many
CARES.
different...
But
there's been so many acts, so like it's been stopped by the Senate.
There are funds sitting and waiting. There's a package that could be passed, but Mitch McConnell refuses to bring it to a vote in the Senate. So it's just inaction.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to get control, because we need to get stuff passed. Because if Biden presidency means nothing, if we don't, well, I don't want to say means nothing, but it makes it a very tough uphill battle if the Democrats don't control the Senate, because then that means Republicans can block a lot of legislation, a lot of funding for the general public, if they're in control.
And by the way, like, I am not picking a side on this, by the way, but I am. I'm not picking a side on this, but I will definitely say that, like, yes, it does matter if the Republic is Republican controlled, because that will affect what Biden can and cannot do. It will affect what the House can and cannot pass. Yeah. But in general, like, regardless, it's going to be a pretty tight majority. Either way, the election goes in Georgia, it's definitely like both parties hopefully will try to compromise instead of, trying to roadblock each other, because there's a lot of senators that are already Republicans who do go back and forth, like, say, Murkowski, Collins, there's a number of them. So there are some kind of swing moderate Republicans as well. So, like, hopefully, regardless, this will mean that there will be more compromise in the Senate instead of what we've seen in some other years where it's been more powerfully controlled by Republicans in the Senate. Okay, but we'll see.
I'm not bound by any objectivity. So the Republicans are trash. Mnuchin just stashed 300 million he stashed in a fund that Biden won't be able to access for another 6 years. That was money that was going to be put aside and used for COVID relief. He's trash. Trump he's destroying surveillance planes that were used to get surveillance on Russia and, like, national security. Hello. He's basically pulled out of this international agreement that he had, and with that came these planes. I forget what they're called. They basically can provide surveillance. They are hard to detect. He's literally liquidating the planes. He's destroying the planes. So it's just like a fire sale. He's like crash and burn during his lame duck season. And so do what you can to support a democratically held Senate. That's Ricky speaking, not Beth. That's me. Republicans, as they are now, are trash. I won't say that all Republican Americans are trash. I'm talking about the ones that are in control right now. Okay. The end. What's your next? Have you heard? We're going long on Have You Heard? We're already at 44 minutes.
I mean, we can skip some of the other ones. I've got another Have You Heard? I had another one in healthcare, but we went kind of long in that one.
Yeah.
So
I have one I have a lighter one. Let's do a lighter one.
Yeah.
So, actually, it's not that light, though, because it involves... But I don't know, have you heard that they did the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion? It was a 30-year anniversary.
Oh, that's kind of like... Oh, my goodness. Do you know the whole, like... Oh, I used to know the entire opening of Fresh Prince.
Anybody
in
who...
West Philadelphia, born and raised in the neighborhood. Wait.
I wanna play
Oh,
guys
wait.
where
In the
I
rounds where I spend most of my days. Chilling out, relaxing, all cool.
You're messing me up.
Okay, anyway, dorks. Continue.
Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, and I'm shooting some b-ball
outside the school. When a couple of guys who were up to good started making trouble in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I got one little fight with my mom. Okay, anyway. Okay. We don't have to look for the audience to the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
we don't do the whole thing. Yes, but the most iconic theme song ever. And so one story that came out of the reunion is, I don't know, do you remember when they switched Aunt Viv's? Do you remember that moment?
Not really.
Like
I know that I know this was a big moment, but I do not particularly remember it at the time.
Okay, let's do this. Let me share. This is the moment that we all, as like teenagers, were like, skirt, like what? So the first Aunt Viv was like amazing. Let me play this moment that really basically solidified her as queen in all of our eyes, but especially anybody who was a dancer, you knew what was up at this moment right here. That was a cultural reset. Like that changed the game.
Goodness.
Like everybody was like Aunt Viv forever. But then shortly, maybe the next season, like they have this baby and then da-da-da-da. And then like suddenly Aunt Viv looks a little bit different. And Jazz, who was a friend, he was like the sidekick to Will.
Yeah,
Jazz kind of like said it the best. Oh wait.
Ready?
No. Sorry, I don't know what that was. I gotta share again.
No. Okay, ready.
You know, Miss Banks, since you had that baby, there's something different about you.
My goodness.
It was very like they didn't even, that was the only time they acknowledged it, but even publicly, like in the news, they didn't acknowledge
what
it.
happened then? Like, what's the story?
So here's the tea. So apparently the original Aunt Viv, Janet Hubert, she was kind of struggling on set. She thought that it was a bit, she was in Broadway. She's a trained actress, trained dancer.
Right.
And she was just used to having the set a certain way, like being professional.
Right, yeah.
And apparently Will being like 21 and, this huge megastar at this point, he was having, his crew over. They were playing music. She just felt like the set was like really unprofessional. And basically Will kind of threw her in the bus and pushed her out. And they basically offered her this contract that nobody with self-respect like would have taken. And that was the idea. They wanted her to leave. So part of the 30-year reunion was this first time them meeting since then. And they've publicly called each other, like they've gone after each other publicly since then. And she's gone on live and said, you know what you did and da-da-da-da. And he's called her. Basically, what was the nail in the coffin for her is that Will put out into like Hollywood that she was difficult to work with, which,
which could be like, that could be like a death nail in your coffin, especially if you're a woman, a black woman, like any kind of like, BIPOC woman, especially of a certain age, any woman of a certain age, nevertheless, any kind of like BIPOC woman of a certain age.
Exactly. And so so she didn't get any work. She couldn't get any work after that. She was completely blacklisted. And so they had to kind of like talk it out before they had this reunion. So here's just a little clip from that. Oh wait, can you hear it?
No. Is it playing?
I have to. No.
Click the audio box.
I hate that extra step. It's driving me crazy. Okay. Share audio.
Okay.
Here we go.
Everything was a threat to me.
Why was I a threat?
Not you, the world. I was so driven by fear and jokes and comedy and all of that.
Yeah, you were.
That's how
You were live. You were live. But what you didn't realize either, that I was going through a lot at home.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You didn't know. You guys didn't know. Very abusive marriage.
You know, I have children.
Yeah.
I've been divorced, and
so basically they kind of hash it out. And I don't know, you've heard of the Red Table Talks with Jada?
No, I have not.
That's where the whole entanglement thing came out of? No?
No. Okay.
So on Facebook Live, Jada has a show called Red Table Talks. It's basically her, and she's kind of playing like quasi psychologist. She'll have professionals on as well, but it's usually her and her mom, and sometimes Willow, just talking about issues being a woman of color, like, and just relationships with men. And So Jada was doing a lot of like waxing poetic and kind of being the guru, and then this guy who she basically was having an affair with. But it was like an open agreement with Will. Yeah. He came out and basically was saying, his name is August Alsina. Yeah. He was a rapper singer, I think. Anyway, he basically went on, he called her out and was just like, you're trying to say you're this, but like, what about our relationship? And basically you did me wrong. So it became this whole thing. So then they had a Red Table Talk with Will and Jada, and that's where she coined the term that she was in an entanglement. So it wasn't an affair. It wasn't an open relationship. It was just an entanglement. And even in the moment, I don't have the clip now, but even Will was like, he kind of laughed. He was like, entanglement. But anyway, all that to say, like, they did a further talk. Will basically took over Red Table Talks, and him and Janet had a heart-to-heart. And he basically broke it down with a psychologist that he always needed to be funny and have the approval of people through his jokes. And because she was feeling away, she didn't laugh at his jokes. Right. She didn't give him that validation. So he felt threatened by her. And therefore, he kind of did this kind of, for lack of a better word, this coup to kind of like get her out of the show. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic. It's an interesting plights of the Black woman in the workplace, you know.
I mean, that's just the plight of women. Like, men are very intimidated by strong women in the workplace. I mean, like, that's just a continual issue. So, like, I mean, that's why women, like, play dumb. That's why, you know, like, I'm stuttering right now because I don't want to be too aggressive in, like, how I say things. I'd be like, oh, I might be an idiot, but, like, I have to do, like, I've been trained to do those things so that I don't come off as a bitch or threatening. Yeah. Like, we were all trained to not be aggressive because we will not be liked, and likability is a big part of surviving in a workplace. Like, you kind of have to be kind of like the daughter or the mother or the lover. Like, women can't just be a professional. Like, you have to be one of those. And it's usually like trying to walk around men's egos in one way or the other sometimes. I mean, there's some people who are awesome, but there's also, I mean, men are kind of defined by their ability in the workplace, why women are not. So, I mean, it's still something we've known about for a long time, but how this actually plays out in the workforce is, you know, kind of changing. And it's also like the whole Jada thing, like, also like why does her love life not entitle her to speak out about her like being a woman in the work? Like, why does that affect?
Still her experience, yeah.
It's still her experience. Like, why does that affect it? Like, it's, once again, it's like slut shaming women that, like, they can't, like, you can't hear me because, like, I may have a sex life. Like, I can't, like, it can be sexual, but I can't. I mean, like, there's no good solution. Like, there's no perfect age for a woman. You're either too young or too old. Like, there's so many kind of forces. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of, I mean, because I mean, like, I think there's definitely, like, I mean, once you get to a certain age, like in media or tech, or like, especially like in media, we'll just go with that because it's entertainment. Like, you have to be kind of your 20s. As you get into your 30s and 40s, like, women are struggling to kind of find their place in the workforce, especially in something like entertainment where it's like young news, that kind of thing, like, an entertainment. So I mean, like, for her, I mean, like, and nevertheless, being a woman of color, like, we already know it's hard for women of color to find a job in entertainment.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, there's all those kind of issues. And of course, you know, he's a Black man, but he's 20, which is a very different kind of mindset in a place you are in your life.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, we
I
all
think
kind
that's
of, we love youth. And like, once you start getting older, it's like, I don't even know if you're relevant.
Yeah. And I think there's multiple struggles depending on where you're coming from or how you identify. So there's being a woman in the workplace, there's being a black woman in the workplace, there's being a black man in the workplace, and feeling the same way. Like I can say in my own career, there's times where I've had to silence myself because, you don't want to come off as the angry black man. I literally just talked about this in therapy. It's like we spend so much time filtering what we say and reading the room to make sure that we haven't crossed over that line. Because there's a moment where you can push your point, and if you go too far, then you kind of get that label. And it's one of those things that's not spoken out loud. It's just this natural thing that happens. And, I've been faced with like a coworker in tears in front of me because I've had a gripe or I've had to confront them with something. And it's like, well, in that moment, what else can I do? For me to continue to like push my point would be for me to not recognize their tears and for me to be the angry black man. So you take a read of the room and it's like, okay, that's my cue to like stand down. But also, is that intentional? It's like the whole thing with like, white tears, kind of thing, like using them as a weapon kind of thing. It's like, how do you combat that when there's already stigma attached to you,
I mean, I feel like those experiences are real, but you have to add that like those experiences for them may be real, but you're adding on to this whole other level, this kind of exhausting level of always trying to like being able to fit in because you're not part of the norm. Like, because like, I don't want to be perceived as like a bitch. I don't want to be perceived as the ugly black man. Like you have to like, you're constantly kind of adapt to an environment that wasn't built for you. And also like kind of in this age of like kind of racial reckoning and Me Too, like there's a whole other layer of like, yay, it's acknowledged, but also like people are leaning onto you like, how should we deal with this situation? So you have all this free labor that you're giving up on top of just kind of this emotion, like on top of pandemic where everyone's already emotionally like challenged. So like it's the fact that like everyone kind of struggles in the workplace, but then you have this added burden on top of that in the workplace.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. And then to your point, it's like, well, I want to have the conversation. They come to you. I want to have the conversation. I want to be an agent of change. I want to be effective. And it's like, do you really want to have the conversation? Or are you just saying that because that's what is being told to you in the news and media that the conversation needs to happen? But are you really willing to have the conversation? Because in order to have the conversation, it's going to take you looking at yourself. And I don't know if you're ready for that exercise. And usually they're not.
And it's just like some of it's just a perspective. And there's other things, like even if you're just looking at everybody who's just like, just say like everybody who's white, there's just like a whole thing of like economic issues, how you were educated, like what's your personality type, where in the country are you from? Like, there's all these other factors. Cause as a product manager, I had to deal with like trying to figure out like the technician, like people who are developers talk very differently than people who are salespeople. So you have all these personality conflicts in the workplace as well. So, there's so many different dynamics that it can be really hard to nail down if it's because of your color, because of your sex, because of your economic background, because of who your family is. It's really hard to know if it's personal until you see those larger trends.
Yeah.
Both as somebody who is, like, am I doing wrong by somebody, or is it me? Like, do I just suck? Or like, is it something that has to do with a larger trend of me, etc.
Yeah. And to go back to the story that brought up this conversation, I could see how Will could be super disillusioned to go from sort of, Philadelphia projects and then to become this famous rapper and then to have your own show and be 21. Like, of course, you're not seeing all the social, cultural, like professional issues below you. You're riding this wave, this cloud of fame and money and exposure. So it's easy to see how he could be like, she's killing my vibe, like get rid of her.
And I can see how he would see her as threatening. Like if he's from like the project in Philadelphia, she's a Juilliard trained dancer. Like how intimidating is that? And like a trained actress. Like you're like, I'm supposed to run the show. How can I do it with this like classically, like even though he's probably not thinking that consciously. And then like plus there's like a mother figure and he's trying to like break away from it to be his like own man at 21 and create his own industry. Like, take another drink. So so I can see how like he didn't understand like maybe Or maybe she's just not nice. I don't know. I mean, but the thing is, like, I could see how, like, he could just see it as, like, it's her problem. And, like, not, I mean, he probably wasn't also being self-reflective. Because we all have prejudice. Even if, you know, like, it doesn't mean that, like, women, like, maybe misjudging men. And we might be misjudging, like, BIPOC people or misjudging white people. Like, we all have issues we need to look at.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good note to end on. Let's shift into the...
Well, that was a long have you heard?
Yeah. We need to work on our brevity. Hold up.
Okay, well, why don't you lead this and, just run with it. We'll just do the one.
Yeah. So if you follow us on Instagram, or if you liked our page on Facebook, you saw that we put out a call asking for...
At Gen XYZen, by the way, on social media.
And so we put out a call. We wanted to know what kind of topics or issues you wanted us to do a deep dive or follow the rabbit hole. And my friend Justin, or DJ Dandy, out of Tokyo, he's a DJ extraordinaire. He requested that we look into the phenomenon that was, and maybe still are, Mitch McConnell's purple hands. So I remember when this was on Twitter, I didn't really follow it though, because I was just like, no. So what we decided with Random Rabbit Hole, we would just Google.
I thought it was Steve Brannon's skin.
He mentioned both. He mentioned Steve Bannon's skin was melting and that Mitch McConnell had purple hands. And basically, in general, Republicans are demons. Which we won't push that narrative too hard because we're objective. But let's start with... There's
been like so much Republican hate lately. Oh my goodness. Let's okay.
Far right Republican hate. Any hate is directed to the far right. And that's me, specifically speaking for me, Ricky.
Do you have some pictures, by the way?
Yes.
Well, thank you. First off all, thank you, Justin, for throwing it our way. Do you have some pictures to share, Ricky?
So I'm going to Google Mitch McConnell hands. And I'm going to share... Okay. It's really creepy, actually. So let me stop the screen share. Let me do another one. Audio, just in case we come across any. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we look...
Oh, yeah. I mean, is it just like old man hands?
Well, but look, they're kind of like...
I thought he had like some kind of... Yeah.
They're kind of purple and like they've got like a Band-Aid on them. Can I make this?
I mean, I feel like there's just a lot of like people who are older in the Senate. Like that's just kind of their vibe. I feel like that's just an old person thing.
Yeah, I don't know. So maybe we should Google what that condition could be.
Actually, I was kind of curious about, you sent that link about Giuliani. There's the whole Juliana Gross moment.
Hold on.
Because let me pull it. Do you have
up.
the link? Yeah, because I have a related thing on that.
So Justin also sent a video that was quite disturbing of Giuliani.
I mean, I think if we just watch it a little bit. Like, do you remember, like, Giuliani, like, back, like, in September 11th, like, he was, like, America's mayor? Like...
Yeah, he had, like, a huge following.
Like, he was... Oh, my goodness.
He was so popular. It's such a fall from grace.
Like, all of America, like, loved him, and now...
Awful town, Rudy Giuliani, blowing his fucking little nose, checking it out.
This is gross.
Haha, laughing, wiping it in his fucking mouth. Now he's wiping his coke sweats.
I feel like...
These food. First...
I mean, I feel like if you're on camera, like, I wiped my nose in the last show. So, like, I don't feel like I can speak about that.
It's one thing to blow your nose and then discard of that tissue, but to then inspect it, then wipe your mouth with it, then wipe your forehead with it.
Yeah.
It's problematic. Not to mention his hair dye was like spilling into his
Yeah, here, wait. I'm gonna send you a link here, if you want to share it. But what that made me think of, have you watched like the new Borat yet on Amazon Prime?
I have not, because that franchise. You want to talk about cringe? Want to talk about
what?
Cannot watch. Makes me so uncomfortable. But I know what you're bringing up.
Yes.
The what is it, like tucking his allegedly tucking his shirt into his pants?
Yes.
While reclined on a bed.
The subsequent movie film of Borat. Yes. Yeah, because basically Sacha Baron Cohen is kind of like trolling the GOP, and he like shows up at the convention supposedly like trying to deliver his daughter to to the vice president. And then then one of the scenes, like he talks to oh wait, do you have my link? Okay.
Did you send me it? Oh no, I just pulled this.
Oh, I sent it actually in StreamYard.
Oh.
Yeah, does it have the video?
Private chat. Hello.
Oh yeah, there's a private chat feature. Anyway, there's an ad, so you may want to wait for
No, I pay for YouTube, so I don't get
Okay. So anyway, but it kind of shows the clip. But I mean, she was posing as an Eastern European reporter talking to Giuliani, and then kind of everyone leaves the room, and he goes back. He goes into the bedroom with her, and then he's laying down on the bed and undoing his pants. So I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I watched the film and I totally actually missed this whole scene. So oh wait, do you have it?
Oh, I have
I'm
to
not
play
sure.
it.
Yeah, I have to play it. Do you have the sound? Oh wait.
Advisors has been caught in a very humiliating encounter with a young actress who was pretending to be a TV journalist in a scene in
so here's the
Sacha
picture.
Baron Cohen's latest mockumentary, a sequel to his Borat film. Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, might have just experienced one of the most awkward scenes in the Borat film.
Yeah.
Mr. Giuliani was fooled into meeting with the 24-year-old actress Maria Bakalova, who was playing Borat's daughter and posing as a conservative TV journalist.
Oh my God.
The former mayor of New York City.
So he might be tucking in his pants, but I mean, I feel like it's already in a compromising position with you know, I mean.
Well, Borat is so famous now. Sacha Baron, what's his name?
Yeah.
Sorry, Sacha
Baron Cohen.
Baron Cohen. He's been so exposed. That's his third film. How do you not?
Well, because he was he dressed up he was dressed up like Trump, and he was hiding in the bathroom. And then there's another one he's dressed up kind of he's in costume, so people, because he knows that people know, they actually even kind of acknowledge it earlier in the film where he's it was TV news reporter, and it was a Borat film, at a knockoff Halloween costume. So he's dressing as other people.
I'm gonna
pull this off.
Mitch McConnell hands conspiracy to see if if there are any interesting conspiracy theories. There really isn't. Nothing comes up. Some people said it could possibly be from multiple IVs.
I mean that's what it looks like, because
surface capillaries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot really confirm that. Anyway, it was still weird for him to just be sort of not even talk about it. It was just weird.
I mean, I feel let's talk about the Congress. I mean, what is that average age? Somewhere in this, average age in Congress. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
they are yeah.
I just think it made him look more like the troll that he is. So,
I mean.
Or he's from what are those people called? The Palladians?
Wait, what's the Palladian?
The lizard people?
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of oh wait, the average age of members of the House, this is in 2018, was 57, and then of senators is 61.8.
Okay,
membership.
So basically, old.
Yeah. I mean, that's not.
What can you do? Things come up. Okay, so thank you, Justin, for that.
Yes, thank you.
Rabbit hole. We didn't. I guess you can let us know how deep we should have gone. Send us Send us more clips next time. Okay, let's roll into Don't Even.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Pause. Are we going to come back?
For some reason, that one doesn't. Anyway. Okay. Don't Even. This is where we kind of talk about whatever we want to. And Beth, what is your Don't Even for the week?
Don't even think about not getting insurance for next year. As we discussed, the deadline's December 15th. So, not cool to not have insurance during the pandemic. So, yeah. That's pretty simple.
That's your Don't Even. Don't even have insurance. Don't even not have insurance.
I know, it's kind of
I think, do you have a second one? Because we basically talked about it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, I was just re-emphasizing the point, like, I got to remind myself, like, I totally haven't looked at anything yet because I'm like, Anyway, that's not where I want to spend. I don't like, I only have 2 weeks and I really don't want to like spend another $500 for like, oh my goodness. Anyway, this is kind of, here's another don't even. I'll go with the lighter one. Don't even think of overpaying for streaming. You know what I've recently discovered? That there's like all these free streaming services. So usually like you have like your Hulu, your Netflix, and your Disney, and you're like, and then it all adds up to like more than cable. And you're like, what am I doing?
Yes.
But I've discovered that, so obviously there's Prime, which is a multi-fur. You get multiple things. But there's also things like Tubi. Have you heard of this? Crackle, Pluto, IMDb, all free. Okay. And they all have a whole bunch of free movies, a whole bunch of free TV shows. And you don't have to pay for it. They have commercials. So, I mean, if you're willing to put up with that. But, I mean, like, you still pay for Hulu and get commercials. So, I mean, if you got to mix it up. Yeah.
I have a don't even relate to streaming.
Oh, I have one more on that one. Is that there's also NBC Peacock, which is streaming a whole bunch of NBC stuff, both their movies and their TV shows, also for free, but it does come with ads. But I mean, when you like hit all the Netflix you can watch and all the Hulu, and like during the pandemic, I think a lot of us have. It's nice to have some free options. Okay, go ahead. What you got?
My don't even is to Netflix. Don't even try to make me feel sorry for Prince Charles. Have you watched The Crown season 4?
Oh, I have not. But there's so much buzz about it because I'm not paying for Netflix right now. I circulate.
Okay. It's very good, but the first few episodes, they really try to like tug at the heartstrings with poor old Prince Charles being sort of like not respected or admired by the Queen or anybody else in the family. And, they show him going away to college and not having any friends and woe is me. He makes his friendship with his professor because he has to learn how to speak, is it Welsh? Because he's the Prince of Wales. Yeah. And there's this whole conflict. Anyway, It's like, I start to feel sorry for the man. And then he is trash for the remainder of the season because then you remember all the crap he put Diana through, Princess Diana, and his whole relationship with Camilla Bowles, Parker Bowles, and how he expected Diana to be faithful and not have any side hustles while he maintained a very romantic, like loving relationship with Camilla very publicly in front of her face. So don't start the series that way with making us, I mean, I'll speak for me. I kind of almost shed a tear for the man early on as a kid. And then I guess that was to give maybe perspective on like how he turned into sort of like the ego driven future king of England. But it's like, no, he's trash. He treated her like trash. Yes, it was an arranged wedding, but I think he could have done a lot better and tried a lot harder. And even Princess Anne was like, get your shit together. Like, this is like, what are you doing? Like, you've got Princess Diana. She's perfect. She's the mother of your children, and just figure it out. But they do a good job of showing how they're quite different and how it wasn't the most ideal match. And because of his upbringing and because of her beauty, like all of the attention she got obviously made him feel a certain way. He was into theater. He was doing Shakespeare before he he assumed his like official royal duties, and that's why the family kind of didn't respect him. So when she started getting all the accolades, when she started becoming more famous than him, obviously he took that a certain way. But it was just it's just a whole mess. It's just sad all around.
I mean,
but don't make me feel sorry for him ever.
I mean, like, I think that's what makes like a good, like, that kind of conflict of someone being like, I think if you have a very flat, like, we'll say villain in this case, because a lot of people see him as like kind of the offender in the relationship with Diana. You have a totally flat character. It's not interesting. Like, if you care for them, you feel that kind of like push and pull of them, like just kind of understanding like the basics of where they're coming from. Like, because I mean, did you see like the Hunters on Amazon? It was like about Nazi hunters, and the Nazi characters were just so freaking flat. It was like, oh my, it was unwatchable. Like, they were just straight on evil. It was just bad. Like, I'm not saying not, but I mean, like, even like in like comics, like the villains usually have like some kind of backstory about how they turned evil.
Yeah,
like,
honestly, and
I mean, like, it's a basic storytelling method where like you give it like you at least give a hint to why the person turned evil, so that like it becomes
it's the whole
like
backstory thing.
Yeah,
but even Camilla, like, you know, she's everyone sees her as like the villain, but I kind of was like, I saw her perspective. She was like, well, I've got my husband. It's cool to hang with you, but I understand what's going on here. Because there's a moment where he's like, I'm going to give it all up, you know, and pull like a prince. Who was the one that gave up his crown to marry the American? Prince Philip? No. Anyway, he was ready to pull one of those. And she was like, no, they will crucify me in the media. You want to put her against me? Princess Diana against me? Like, I know my role. Like, she's the princess. She's the people's princess. No, we're not doing that. You're staying married. I'm keeping my husband. This is how it's going to be. Like, so I respected her realism and like, this is how, like, wake up, little boy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, and by the way, so that was Edward VIII. I also blanked on his name. I mean, Edward VIII. I mean, but his full name is it's Edward Albert Christian George Andrew Patrick David. Anyway,
all those choices and I missed completely.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But okay, I mean, like, so he married Wallis Simpson, and like she was divorced. But I mean, you got to remember that like now it's cool if you can marry someone divorced, but it wasn't cool for Prince Charles to marry someone who was divorced.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the monarchy has changed over the past 100 years, and I mean
it has, but it also hasn't because watching The Crown, especially with the storyline of Princess Di, it gave me more perspective on Meghan Markle, and Princess Di came from like an aristocratic family, had the right upbringing, and she still was ostracized.
Oh, yeah.
And so imagine Meghan Markle, a
biracial woman with like her mom is like dread. Yeah. So I mean, like Hollywood, divorced, Hollywood. Yeah.
So of course, like, of course she didn't last. Like, I can imagine they go into how even Princess Di had to have etiquette lessons. Like her grandmother was teaching her the order of bowing and what to do. Imagine Meghan Markle in etiquette class at her, she's a fully realized like adult who has her own social issues and like charities that she wants to work with.
Right.
She's not going to sit in etiquette class and learn the order of bowing. Like, I'm not surprised that her and Charles decided to,
not
Charles.
Oh my goodness.
What's his name?
Harry.
I'm not surprised.
Is it just like pick random white name day?
It's like the royal Karen. But yeah, I'm not surprised that he was like, let's get out of here because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not going to work.
And because she was like considered like the commoner, but like the Spencers go back hundreds and hundreds of years. It's been aristocratic, like where Lady Di came from. Like, I mean, that has been it's been part of the like the aristocrats of like of like England for hundreds of years. So like if she had to like take those classes. I mean, so it has progressed to certain levels, but obviously it's very steeped in tradition. So,
because you remember when somebody at one of the first dinners that after they were married, some cousin of somebody wore a pin that was completely like a racist image, or it had something. I don't know if it was like the big lips thing or something, but it was something very clearly like a racist moment. And I can't imagine. I'm sure Megan was just like, no, that was the one and done. We're out. Like, deuces.
I mean, I feel like there was probably like so many instances.
Oh, for sure.
Many instances.
Yeah.
Oh, and let's also talk, like, Prince Charles now is 72. Like, talk about, like, you're waiting for your job for, like...
It ain't gonna happen. Right.
I mean, probably, but just, like, you know, let's see how long. But I mean, like, and that has to be hard to, like, always be, like, kind of the, how does what work?
Well, because it's common... I feel like the idea is that he never will be king. But say if the queen died tomorrow, it would
it would be Prince Charles, and then it would be Prince William.
Okay. So
and then his firstborn.
Like 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like mattering. I mean, however long if he lives as long as his mother, right? And then it's going to be Prince William, and then his son. So before it was going to go, you know, Prince William, then Prince Harry. So, but now that they have. You know, they have, I think they have an heir and a spare now, as the saying goes, an heir and a spare. One man.
Oh, yeah.
You have more than one children. If you have more than, it used to be one boy. Yeah, you got options. You get pick and choose. So like now, well, whatever. The line of succession now includes women. Woo!
So where's little Archie in that? Probably he's very on the edge, like far down.
I believe. So I think it would go through.
You would have to go through William and Kate's kids.
Like all that whole family would have to be, and then it would go to Harry, and then it would go to Harry's kids.
Okay, so
unless but I mean, monarchy is a very complicated thing. So I mean, like it's changed over time, etc. But I mean, part of the reason
to them for like keeping it relevant all this time, because I mean, at the end of the day, it is just it's an image kind of thing and a tradition thing, but. In 2020, so many, like a sense of tradition and culture, like is almost like lost, you know, or vilified in some respects, especially one that is so lavish and, you know, expensive. Yeah. I'm surprised that they've kept the hustle going.
I mean, they've kept the hustle going too, because I mean, like, part of the reason the English crown has lasted for so long is that they've adapted. I mean, they were one of the first to incorporate kind of democracy into their system, so people were like less likely to revolt and like behead them like they did in France. Like, there's a whole. I'm sorry, I've been watching Poldark lately. So anyway, I actually like I'm a kind of a nerd for like whatever, like British Crown shows.
Well, honestly, it's people like Princess Di and Meghan Markle that are keeping it current and relevant, and not by choice, forcing it to adapt to the times. Yeah. It's always with the heels being dug in, you know. I mean, the Queen didn't even want to go out and acknowledge the people after Princess Di passed away, and it's like. I don't know if did you ever watch Helen? Portrayal?
Yeah, because she didn't quite understand. Yeah, I mean, it seems that she wouldn't really quite realize like how like powerful she was with people. But I mean, she's been around since like the turn of last century. I mean, like there's a lot to adapt to. I mean, like living through like war, like her uncle stepping down to marry some like divorced American, and then like then her dad taking over, and then wars, and then like anyway.
Yeah, but
I mean, she's had a long like.
It seems like she just had zero character arc though. Like, what are the lessons learned? You know, I would love to know her actual thoughts of the whole Meghan and Harry. I'm sure she's livid.
I'm sure she has like. I'm sure she has some. I'm sure she has strong thoughts, but I mean, I think like part of the amazing part of her is that like she has just like her outward persona has been so steady, which is something like it's hard enough for anyone to keep that for like a year or two or a decade. Like how many stars have broken down, like to keep it consistent for like nearly a century. Like what celebrity has, other than like maybe Tom Hanks, has ever had like kind of that kind of consistency in character that people still like kind of like universally admire? I mean, can you think of like
Tom Hanks is your go-to?
I mean,
a character like what was it?
Like, I mean, it's solidly like people just kind of like him, and they're just like, oh, like maybe But I mean, because like, I don't know, like you go back to other stars and there's usually some like dark, dirty past kind of thing, or like any kind of celebrity figure. Like her sister had like a wild streak, like all the royals had some kind of scandal. Like the fact that she hasn't had any kind of scandal and like she's been relatively universally liked or, you know, at least tolerated or, you know, just, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Like that's some like solid PR team and like stuff, whatever. Or just, I don't know. I don't know. Can you think of anybody better than Tom Hanks? I'm
just letting you just wade in this. No, Tom Hanks is pretty solid. He's like a teddy bear. Everyone is team Tom Hanks. Although his son, that's another story.
He's
got a white Rasta son, right? I don't know how that one got away, but have you seen him? Oh God!
Wait, the actor's son, or wait, is there another one? I don't know.
Tom Hanks has a son.
Yes, he's like in a lot of different things. He was like in Orange County with like Jack Black.
No, you're talking about Colin Hanks. There's another one.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one. Okay.
I'm Googling Tom Hanks' son Rasta, and
I know nothing about Rasta. I didn't even realize about his actor son for like I didn't connect it. It's just like he looks vaguely familiar.
It's an embarrassment, but let's play it for the people.
Oh no. Is this gonna be as cringeworthy as like
it's gonna be so cringe.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's Chet.
That is the best kind of transition from a video clip.
That was Chet Hanks, ladies and gentlemen. So you can do your Googles if you want to see more. But yeah, he claims to speak Rasta. But in the comments, just go to the comments of any YouTube video that has him speaking Rasta. The actual Rastafarians go in and they just like, he's clueless. It's just ridiculous. But it's also quite entertaining.
I mean, okay, but this is also the point too. Is that like the embarrassing children of like...
It's like, what happened, Tom? You did decent with Colin. At least you got an acting career out of it. And then Chet becomes Mr. Rastaman.
I mean, that's the thing too. Like you're famous. Like you could get caught like making like one embarrassing thing. Like maybe he's like, I don't know, like a Harvard scholar on the other side and he just made an awkward. Okay. No, I have a feeling that this is not his case, but I'm saying hypothetically, like, I mean, like
we're not both sizing Chet Hanks trying to speak Rasta.
I mean, maybe the Queen spoke Rasta one time, and somebody just got rid of it.
Oh yeah, tell me more about that. When did the Queen? Who was there? Who was she addressing when she spoke Rasta?
She was talking about Marley. I don't know.
The Queen and Bob Marley having a session. I would pay money to see that.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, on that note, let's get into Zenspiration. Okay, so let's do the Zenspiration. This is way too long, this episode. But so if you don't know the Zenspiration, we pull a random page from Paulo Coelhos' Warrior of Light. La, 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 la. Okay. And we try to get some, inspiration from the quotes. So, this week's Zenspiration, the spiritual energy of the path uses justice and patience to prepare your spirit. Oh, wow. This is really kind of the times. If you're thinking about what's going on with the transition and everything, we finally have approval, like the transition is beginning. But let's read more about this. The breviary, Medieval Knight says, the spiritual energy of the path uses justice and patience to prepare your spirit. This is the path of the knight, a path that is at once easy and difficult because it forces one to set aside trivial things and chance friendships. That is why, at first, many hesitate to follow it. This is the first teaching of the knights. You will erase everything you have written in the book of your life up until now. Restlessness, uncertainty, lies. And in the place of all of this, you will write the word courage. By beginning the journey with that word and continuing with faith in God or fill in the blank, you will arrive wherever you need to arrive. I love that. Basically, it's like start a new chapter forget about everything that happened before, because all that matters is what's happening now. Stay present and keep it pushing.
I like it. That's a great way to end it.
So, yeah, that was our episode. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, leave a like, and make sure to comment. Wait, let's see. Can we get a subscribe moment? Yeah, subscribe to the channel, Gen XYZen, and leave a comment. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like us to discuss next week. Leave us a topic or a link for a random rabbit hole session we can have, and we'd be happy to do that for you. So, yeah.
All right.
And Beth, anything else?
Yes. Follow us at Gen XYZen on social media.
Yes, please subscribe. Thank you to our 28 subscribers. So we gained about 3 from last week. Thank you for putting that work in. I appreciate you. And please support. And we'll see you next week. All right?